Hello, Abooters from around the world. My name is Kais and I am 11 years old and I live in Montreal, Canada. Welcome to our Aboot Zoom session with me and my co-host Anis, who is 13 years old and currently lives in London. We'll be interviewing our guest changemaker, Nadine, who is also based in London. Nadine is the owner of DoddleBags, a company that developed the ultimate eco-friendly, reusable food and travel pouch. Their innovative product design work contributes to reducing plastic pollution and to a better health, especially for babies and toddlers. Nadine's work contributes to several sustainable development goals, particularly SDG number 12, responsible consumption and production, SDG number 3, good health and well-being, and SDG number 14, life or water. Anis and I will be asking questions to Nadine about her background, her journey, her work, her skills, and her impact. We hope that you will enjoy the session, and I'll now be handing you over to Anis to ask the first question.
Okay. What inspired you to start DoddleBags in the first place?
So I used to be an architect, and when Lily was born, I was still working as an architect, and I was having to juggle loads of things, and we just moved to a new country, and I started buying a lot of these squeezy food pouches. And I was feeding her quite happily because it was supposed to be all good organic food. And then one day I read some research that showed that no matter how good the food is that you find in those squeezy pouches, as soon as they pasteurize and to put them on the shelves, then they lose like up to 40% of their nutritional value. And then I thought, that's really silly because I'm making the food anyway. It's in the fridge, and the reason I'm buying these squeezy food pouches is because they're really convenient. I don't have to bother myself with a bowl and a bib and blah, blah, blah. And so I said, okay, I'm going to go to the supermarket and I'm going to find myself a Ziploc bag with a spout on it. So I can put my own food in it and freeze it and just take it wherever we go. And then she can feed herself. There's less mess and it's okay. And then I went to the supermarket and I couldn't find anything. And then I Googled it and looked online and I couldn't find what I was looking for. So one day I came back from the office and I just sort of mocked one up, and I Skyped my cousin who works in packaging, and I said to him, hey, he's called Zaid. And I said, Zaid, what do you reckon? Do you think that we can make these? And he looked at me and he said, oh, yeah, it's easy, no problem. Actually, it wasn't easy. It took us 2 years to develop it. And, because we wanted to, I had like really things that in my head that it needed to do. I needed to see if the bag was clean because it needed to be hygienic. I needed to see how much I was feeding the baby. So it needed to be calibrated. I needed to be able to freeze it and to have all sorts of liquids in it. So the zip itself just took us a year to design. So that's, if you think about it, I'm an architect, right? Some buildings take less than that to design and have built. So it was like really focus on detail. So that's really how, that's what inspired me to start DoddleBags. It was a need that I had myself. And then I showed it to lots of people and they all said, oh, wow, I would use that too. I would use that too. So it just encouraged me to start it and do it.
Okay. How has DoddleBags improved your community and others around the world?
So I'm not sure it's impacted at a community level yet, but like what was really nice, that during lockdown, there was a lot of like frenzy buying and people were buying sort of bulk foods and things like that, and sort of pre-preparing stuff and freezing stuff. And what was really nice is that, sometimes we had like, once I couldn't find any flour on the market except for buying like a massive 16-kilogram bag of flour. So I bought it and we decanted it and we started giving it to our neighbors. So it was a really nice community feeling about that. But the thing is that if enough people turn to reusable receptacles like that rather than just buying stuff, then it will ultimately have an impact on the environment. And the thing is as well, it has impacted certain communities, not like my local community, but certain communities. For example, one day I got a phone call from a man, and he said, I just wanted to thank you because you've really changed our life. And I was like, what? How has this bag changed your life? And he said, well, my wife has Huntington's disease. Grace, do you know what Huntington's disease is? It's a
No idea.
it's a motor neuron disease. Okay, so it impacts your ability, your muscular ability to, to hold your own fork and to, control your muscles and so on. And so this man's wife has Huntington's disease, and she couldn't feed herself. She was having to be fed, and then she couldn't also eat solid food. So he said he had to buy her there's like commercial blended food that people like that can eat. And she didn't like them. And so she was refusing to eat, and it was like impacting more and more her frailty and her health. And then one day her daughter found DoddleBags online. And so they bought them, and they started making her favorite food, and they blended them. And then she started eating again. She regained her strength. And this man was like so grateful that he could then go on holiday with his wife again after many years of not being able to do it. And he happened to be the head of the Huntington's Disease Association. And so he told lots of people, and now there's a whole group of people with Huntington's disease and Parkinson's disease and other types of motor neuron diseases that use DoddleBags for self-feeding, and so that they can go about their daily lives in a much better way. So that was really unexpected, and it was a really nice outcome. And the other thing is that, again, somebody posted on Instagram a picture of a child being tube fed using a pump with DoddleBags on the end of it. And when somebody posts something like that on Instagram, it's a very specific group of people, but it makes you, if they see that it makes your life easier, then they all sort of jump onto that bandwagon, right? So a lot of people started using it for that specific purpose, which is not the purpose that I designed it for, but it's fantastic that it works for that. So all these kids who used to have to be tube fed, which is a real pain for them anyway, and they'd have to be tube fed, sitting without moving. And imagine a toddler not moving, and suddenly they have the food in a toddler bag, it's in a backpack, and they can move around and eat at the same time. It makes a big difference to their lives.
Yeah, okay. Would you say that DoddleBags is only beneficial to certain types of people, or can it help everybody?
So when I first designed the DoddleBag, it was for that specific need to feed Lily or small children with nutritious food in an easy way, so that the parents could basically multitask, say, here you go, have this food in the pram or whatever, you feed yourself, I don't need to bother with that, I can write my email instead. but then I realized quite quickly that the waste aspect of it was just as important. There was also a lot of really shocking data that was coming out about these reusable, food pouches that were available pre-filled with food, and because they're made of foils and so on, they were not recyclable, they were ending up in landfill, and there were like huge quantities of these things ending up in landfill. So when I designed the paintbrush attachment to go onto the bag, the thinking is that not only would it be less messy for the child to use it when they're painting, but also when they finished painting, because kids, they have a concentration span of about 3 minutes, right? And so often you set it all out, the painting for them, they paint for 3 minutes, and then you throw it down the sink, all right, which is waste, right? And it's not environmentally friendly. So by doing the paintbrush, all you do is unscrew the paintbrush, put the cap back on, the cap's working like a bottle, and then you just get it out the next time. So you're not wasting anything. And that whole wastage issue means it's transferable again across lots of people from different age groups, whether they're chefs and they're trying to save the chocolate ganache that they're putting on icing on their cakes, because chocolate's really expensive. So typically, if you ice a cake in the icing bags and there's some left over, you chuck it. But with these, you don't chuck them. You just put them in the freezer and you get them out for next time and use them. Or whether you put salad dressing, or whether you're traveling and you want to put shampoo and you're buying like big bottles of shampoo, because again, it's much more environmentally friendly to buy a big thing and then just decant it, whatever you need. So from that aspect, it can really be beneficial across a multitude of sectors and to different age groups.
Okay. How would you say Lily's life has been different to mine, bearing in mind that she only knows a life with DoddleBags in it and uses it in her everyday life?
Okay, well, I think the biggest benefit, so when I was an architect, I was working in an office, right? And I was going in at a certain time and finishing at a certain time. And in terms of being available for my child and being involved in their life, it wasn't so present. So the fact that I can do DoddleBags from a lot of times from home, right? Or to suit myself, sometimes when the kids have gone to bed, or say when Lily's had gone to bed, it's exhausting, but it's also really freeing. And it meant that I could really be there to watch her ballet or whatever. So that's actually quite a critical thing, right? Apart from the fact that DoddleBags themselves have been an ever-present part of her life. So for Lily, for example, she doesn't think you go and buy a smoothie from a shop, right? Why would you buy a smoothie from a shop? You make your smoothie, you put it in a DoddleBag, and you put it in your lunchbox. She wouldn't even think to go to the smoothie section in the supermarket. Or, for example, if she's doing a papier-mâché project, why, the only thing she knows is to put the glue on through a DoddleBag and paint it on, because there's no mess, and why would she do it any other way? So I think that's the biggest difference is a psychological impact of me being present in Lily's life. Does that make sense, Anise?
Yeah. For the next question, did you ever think that not finding a simple item whilst grocery shopping would not only lead to a change in your career, but also a change in your life and many others?
So honestly, when I was working as an architect, I don't think I ever thought about anything that was vaguely entrepreneurial. What I was focused on mainly was taking a really good brief, being empathetic to the end user's needs, and to design to their budget. And whilst all of those things have been like hugely beneficial to the development of DoddleBags, it makes the idea that you have a problem in the world, right? Or you have a simple problem, like the fact that I wanted to get food in for Lily in a nutritious way. If you have the creativity and, more importantly, the support to do it, to change that problem, then you do it, right?
Yeah. Okay, and for the last question from me, of the 17 SDGs, which do you think that DoddleBags has impacted the most?
So we talked about Lily quite a lot, and it's interesting because Lily's school are very, very, the SDGs are a really key part of their teaching, and they drum the SDGs into kids from a very tiny age. And I'd never heard of the SDGs before Lily came to me and told me about them. I think that if children at that age already know what the issues are, it gives them a real sense of empowerment. So USAID, for example, at a very young age, are very, very aware of the SDGs. And they're always going to be there in the back of your mind, right? Whatever you do. So you're good so whatever you're going to do, you're going to make a really positive change to the world. Yeah? You're going to have a positive impact on it. And so I would say that the three main ones are, as you said, Zaid, right at the beginning, are number 3, which is good health and well-being, right? So being in control of feeding your kids seasonal homemade food, right? 12, which is, what was it? Responsible consumption and production.
Yes.
Is that right? Yeah. So only buy what you need, reuse, recycle, reduce, and doing all of those things ultimately has an impact on numbers 13, 14, and 15, which is climate action, life below water, and life on land, right? So, I think always the small things can have has a domino effect on the larger things. If enough people do it, then it has a big impact.
You have any more questions?
No, I've finished all my questions.
Okay. How much different do you think that like a DoddleBag is like from one of the normal like fruit packs or something like that?
So you mean the ones that are pre-filled?
Yeah.
So as I said, so the DoddleBag. So if you made your own smoothie, okay, so you would know exactly what was in that, right? You would know that if, for example, if you only bought seasonal stuff, you'd know that it was just pure whatever it was. So banana, apples, whatever it is, right? You know that there's no preservatives in it. You know that there's no added sugar. You know that there's, you know, it hasn't been heat pasteurized, so it hasn't lost any of its nutritious benefit. So that's one aspect. The other aspect is when you buy a food pouch from which is pre-filled. Have you ever used another one? Have you ever used it for something else? You have?
Yes.
So you buy a fruit pouch and then you don't just throw it away. You actually reuse it, do you?
No. You don't reuse
Away, right?
stuff.
Right. So when you throw it away, that has an impact on the environment, right? So when you have a DoddleBag, you just open it up, you close it up, and you use it multiple times. It's like a water bottle, but it's flexible.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why did you think of like stop being in architecture and doing something else like DoddleBags?
Okay. So when I first designed the DoddleBags, I was still working as an architect. And then I thought, okay, well, I want to see how many other people would find this thing beneficial, right? So I exhibited it at a big trade show in Germany, and it specializes in sort of mother and baby stuff. And we were basically mobbed at that show. We had people from 53 different countries. They came and they're like, oh my God, that's amazing. We've never seen anything. It's so simple, but it could make such a huge difference to people's lives, right? To just the ease to make, you know what doddle means, Zaid? So it's doddle, not doodle.
I'm not Zaid,
right?
first of all, and no.
Sorry.
You said like 3 times now, but it's okay. It's okay.
Sorry. Because, you know, my cousin who I speak to all the time is called Zaid, so I've got Zaid in my head. Sorry, I really apologize.
It's okay.
So, do you know what doddle means, Grace?
No.
So in England, when they use the word doddle, means it's easy. Okay, DoddleBags means easy, makes your life easy. That's why we came up with that name.
Oh,
And
cool.
And so when I saw that there were so many people that wanted to that were interested in DoddleBags, then I basically didn't have the time to be an architect anymore. I had to focus on it. If I was going to do it, I was going to do it. You know, and when you do something, you have to do it sort of fully to make it a success.
Yeah, that does make sense. I mean, I don't have any more questions.
Okay.
So, I guess this means that we're gonna finish it.
Okay.
Actually, no, I have one more. Do you have any advice for anybody who wants to become an entrepreneur like you or a change maker?
The advice that I have is that you have got to be super flexible. You have got to not have any preconceived ideas of how things will turn out. Yeah, you've just got to go with whatever comes. So, for example, I started DoddleBags with feeding children, and now I'm hoping that the primary use for DoddleBags will be for feeding people with motor neuron disease. So you have to basically be able to change whatever you thought was your plan of action, and to go along with it. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
It's also good to have a lot of people who support you.
Yeah.
Around you.
Yeah. Okay, so thank you, Nadine and Anis, for this great discussion and for everything that we learned today. Thank you, Oboot, for listening to this interview. Make sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter and to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can hear about upcoming sessions with other changemakers. Please
Thanks,
also
Faith.
tell your friends about Oboot and share our social media links with them. And last but not least, go to www.oboot.co to learn about opportunities to collect digital badges and help us draw down cards.